The boss suddenly became energetic, and said eloquently, "Brother, you are really insightful. Don't look at my pebble, but it is of extraordinary origin. It was placed on the dragon case in Lord Chiandi's study. Paperweight." Charlie didn't have time to listen to his long talk and interrupted impatiently. "Don't talk to me about these and some, just come to the point." The boss laughed and said, "Since you are an expert, then 20,000. Charlie said disdainfully, "You want money crazy, right? One price, 300. If you don't sell, I will call the police to arrest you." 300? The boss sighed and said with a dry smile, "Brother, you are a person who knows the goods. 300 is 300. Charlie smiled slightly and pinched the stone in his hand. Jacob was puzzled. He didn't know why he bought such a broken stone. Just about to ask a question, there was a screaming voice next to him. "Yeah, this stone is good, my master wants it." Hearing this voice, Charlie frowned and looked up to look for recognition. He saw a young man wearing a white linen suit, black shoes, and all kinds of bracelets, walking towards this side. Although it was daylight, he wore a pair of antique gold-rimmed glasses with two round black glass plates, the kind of civilization mirror that the late Qing dynasty wore. The young man was followed by 4 or 5 bodyguards. Compared with his looks, these bodyguards were much more fierce and evil, and everyone next to him quickly moved away to avoid causing trouble. Yeah, it turned out to be Stephen. As soon as the boss saw the young man, he immediately opened his eyes and smiled, and the flattering words came out of his mouth like running water. "Mr. Stephen, why didn't you say anything in advance when you came here today? I'd have come to the street to welcome you." "Okay, don't talk nonsense, I will just take a look today." The young man waved his hand impatiently. He strode forward, took a look at the stone in Charlie's hand, and raised his head to ask the boss, "Irvin Jones, put this stone up for me. There is a paperweight stone on my dad's desk. It is just right to use it." The mung bean eye boss gave a dry smile, looked at Charlie with a grimace, and said to please, "Mr. Stephen, this is really unfortunate. The stone has been bought by this brother. Actually, this stone is nothing special. Except for the press paper, it has no use for anything. I have specially reserved better products for you. What is the beauty of the worthless stones? Only the top quality products are worthy of your identity." Charlie knew that this boss was named Irvin Jones, and he seemed to know this young man. However, he was also amazed at Irvin Jones's lip service. He's really talkative to people and nonsense to ghosts. Irvin Jones quickly took out the hardened plastic jade horse, splashing in his mouth. "Mr. Stephen, this is the beloved object of the former imperial concubine. You see, this jade is crystal clear, and the jade is of good quality, so let's not talk too much. For the sake of Mr. Stephen, the price you bought the chicken tank cup is the same as yesterday. You can take it for 9,000. Jacob was speechless when he heard that, the same fake chicken tank cup, dared to buy 300 and still take advantage of it. He didn't expect that Stephen actually spent 9,000. "Don't talk nonsense." Mr. Stephen was impatient at hearing, kicked Irvin Jones to the side, and said arrogantly, "I just like this stone, you give it to me, I will give you 20,000. When Irvin Jones heard 20,000, his heart suddenly became hot, and he turned his head and said to Charlie, "Brother, how about you give it to Stephen?" Charlie frowned and said coldly, "This is something I bought, and I don't want to transfer it to others." "Who asked you to transfer it?" "You haven't paid any money, whoever paid for it?" Mr. Stephen said impatiently, then took out a wallet from his arms, took a stack of banknotes, and threw them on Irvin Jones's face. "No need to look for 20,000, I'll take it." Irvin Jones's eyes lit up, and he quickly took the banknotes in his hand and smiled at Charlie. "Brother, I also have an inkstone paperweight from Emperor Kangxi. It is better to keep it than this." Charlie smiled and said, "Irvin Jones, you don't need to break those things, right? I bought this paperweight first, and I am not interested in giving it to others." Seeing Charlie didn't let go, Irvin Jones couldn't help it. After all, according to the rules of the antique transaction, it is to buy first, and if he breaks the rules, he will not be able to work in this antique street as soon as the news spreads. Irvin Jones had to turn around, nodded, and said to Mr. Stephen, "Mr. Stephen, this paperweight is really not a good thing. There is something better in my house." Before he could finish his words, Mr. Stephen kicked his waist and cursed, "You have been courageous? I have bought several things from you. Now you actually turn your elbow away to help a poor man talk?" Irvin Jones was kicked and sat on the ground, clutching his waist and grunting, complaining, "Mr. Stephen, if he doesn't give it to me, I can't help it." As he said, he winked Charlie vigorously, wanting him to let the stone out. Just by looking at Charlie's clothes and manners, he knew that he didn't have much money in his family, and he had no power or influence.